In episode 2, Peter is forced to abandon Warren. Now he's got people shooting at him, and he's got Rose to protect. So he's got to get the hell out of there and make sure Rose is okay as well. He does end up getting into a scuffle with one of the guys who's chasing him. Rose helps out, and they're able to escape thanks to an Uber. When they get back to Peter's apartment, the first thing he says is, "You have to tell me how you found me." And she explains that she found him via a picture online. He was in the background, but she assures him that no one else knows where he is. She then gets into the reason why she showed up. The fact that she hasn't seen him in 10 months, the fact that she got that phone call, she had the conversation with Catherine, and she starts asking, "Peter, what the hell's going on?" And it takes a little bit of prodding, but he finally says, "I'm after this guy, Warren. He's the key to all of this." He then goes on to more specific details on what the key to all of this actually means. The fact that he was on an op, the fact that it went bad, and his lead right now to find out why it went bad is Warren. That's why he cozied up to Warren's son, started teaching him basketball in order to get closer to Warren. They then go to bed, and when Peter gets up, Rose has already beaten him to it, and she's using Adverse as a way to try to find Warren. She starts getting into some really technical mumbo-jumbo about how Adverse works, but one of the downsides of it is you can only go about 12 hours back, so while she has a lead on Warren heading into the city, she doesn't know where he went after that. What comes as a surprise to Peter, though, is the fact that Rose reveals this isn't her company. This isn't even her code. She's just an engineer with it. Rose does ask him a pretty obvious question. Why didn't you just go to Travers? And he says, well, it's not that simple. I can't just go to the president without having Warren and without finding out what Warren sold and who he sold it to. I also don't know who at night action is compromised. It could be Catherine. So I need concrete proof on what is going on. They then notice in the surveillance footage that Ethan is leaving the townhouse. Peter knows that Ethan is heading to his basketball game, and if Ethan's heading there, that's a really good spot for Warren to grab him. He thinks that Warren is trying to get Ethan out of the country. So Peter goes to take off, and Rose says, "Well, I'm coming with you," which Peter protests. He doesn't want to worry about protecting her, but she says, "I'm coming because I can't be alone right now." So reluctantly, he takes her with. And it turns out Peter's hunch was correct. Warren was waiting in the locker room for Ethan to show up, and when the team took the court, Warren grabbed his son and said, "Grab your coat, we got to head out of here now." Ethan, just being a teenager, started following his dad's directions, but that's when Ethan's stepfather stepped in. His stepfather and his mom were at the game. They were curious as to why Ethan didn't come out of the locker room, so the stepfather headed in, and that's when he saw Warren. And these two don't get along, because while Warren was overseas, that's when Joel, I don't know his name, I'll just call him a Joel, because it's always a Joel. Well, that's when Joel stepped in and started satisfying Warren's wife, if you will. The two ended up getting a divorce. This guy ended up moving in, and now he's playing dad. That's something that Warren doesn't really take kindly to. So he tells Ethan to go out, wait in the car, and then he starts tuning this dude up. When Peter and Rose finally do arrive, it's too late. Warren is gone. It's at this point that Peter has to reveal that he actually isn't David. He's an FBI agent. And he starts peppering Ethan's mom with questions on where Warren might have went, and she does have an idea of where he could have gone. The location makes a lot of sense because it's near a flight school and Warren knows how to fly planes. All Ethan's mom cares about, though, is getting Ethan back home safely, so Peter says, "We'll go to the flight school, see if we can get him, and you guys head home, and if Ethan comes back, you'll be waiting for him." Peter and Rose head off to the Long Island airport, and they get there just as Warren is trying to usher Ethan into a very small plane. Rose is able to create a diversion, and that's when Peter strikes. While Peter and Warren are fighting, Rose is able to grab Ethan and get him away to safety, and when it's all said and done, Peter is bringing Warren out in handcuffs. When Ethan sees this, he's really confused on what's going on, and Peter has to tell him, "Hey, by the way, I'm not David. I work for the government. Your dad's done some bad things, and trust me, I know how you're feeling right now." The whole time, Warren is just screaming, "Ethan, I can explain," but Ethan doesn't want to hear it. After putting Ethan in a taxi to get back to his mother, Peter thanks Rose for helping him out because he knows he never would have found Warren without her. What Rose is concerned with is what Peter plans on doing with Warren. She wants to remind him that he is a good guy and he should, not go over the edge, if you will, in trying to get answers out of Warren. To which Peter completely understands and he says, "Look, when I'm done with this guy, I'll find you and I'll explain everything." And the two go their separate ways. Rose doesn't really know what her next move is, and Peter suggests that she take the Chinatown bus to Boston, fly out of Logan International, back to California, and he assures her, "I will find you, I will explain everything." Peter then hops in the front seat of his conversion van and he starts driving Warren to a safe site that he's already prepared to interrogate him. While this is happening, at this point, Catherine has arrived in New York City. She's trying to find Peter, no luck so far, and she gets a phone call from the heads of the CIA and the FBI because they got an interesting tip from one of their assets. The asset in New York approached the CIA about a potential U.S. intelligence leak. It has to do with the Iranians, and it looks like they've come into possession of some classified documents. They think it might have to do with what's going on with night action. None of this really makes sense to Catherine. I mean, why would Warren come back on U.S. soil, risk getting caught, all to sell secrets to the Iranians? But this is something that POTUS wants her to look into, so she's going to. And as for that asset, the woman's name is Noor. She works at the Iranian embassy. She's just an aide at the embassy, but she's an aide to the head guy. And because she's really well liked, she has a lot of access, which gets her some privileges, if you will, to swipe some documents and hand them over to the CIA and see if they're willing to swap the documents in order to get her family asylum from Iran. When she met with her CIA asset, she had documents that he told her, I can't really use these. So in order to curry favor, she blurted out, my boss has been having secret meetings with a U.S. intelligence officer. The problem is, Noor has no proof of this. These are just rumors going on in the embassy. But this rumor reached all the way to POTUS and then reached Catherine. Now, on top of trying to find Peter, she has this to worry about as well. She does, however, get a lead on the first one, Peter. When she got the phone call from the director, she was parked outside of Warren's old townhouse. She saw the taxicab pull up with Ethan, and she noticed that in the other seat was Rose. So she started following Rose to see what she could find. Of course, she was looking for Peter, who at this point had made his way to the safe house. He's got Warren tied up in a chair with a camera so he can film his confession. And he tells him that he's not going to kill him, he's not going to torture him, but what he will do is hand him over to the FBI. They're going to charge him with treason, and then they'll rewrite the entire narrative of his entire life. So he asks him, what was the intel you were passing on in Bangkok? A frustrated Warren says his name was Arthur, at least that's what he said. I also got the feeling this Arthur guy wasn't the actual buyer, he was the middleman. To which Peter says, there was that guy in the white suit, no tie, he stood out, he was watching the whole thing. Who was he? And Warren tells him, I don't know, I only dealt with Arthur. Peter then asks him, who was the mole? Who was the guy that compromised the night action line and got my partner killed? And Warren tells him, I have no idea. What the hell's a night action? Look, I was working alone. You can kind of tell by the look in Warren's face that he is telling the truth. And he goes on to explain that he just wanted to get Ethan away from his ex-wife. The more he talks about that situation, though, the more he gets heated, he gets off track, and Peter has to remind him, okay, what about Bangkok? What intel were you selling? Warren explains that it was information about a covert military program at the CIA. The program was called Foxglove, and the file he sold was on the early stages of it. It was theoretical, and that entire program got shuttered years ago. But as Warren's explaining this, he gets shot by a sniper. Peter goes off and hides, but he hears the cell phone in Warren's pocket ringing. Peter grabs it, and he says, hello? Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.